Halloween is a time for masks, candy, and mischief, but beneath the festive surface lurk shadows that can chill your bones. Today, I'm going to share with you 4 true horror stories that unfolded at Halloween parties, where the thrill of the evening took a terrifying turn. These are tales that will make you question the safety of your surroundings and the intentions of those around you. As the laughter fades and the lights dim, you'll discover how quickly a night of fun can spiral into pure nightmare. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to hear might forever change the way you view the seemingly innocent gatherings of October 31st. Stay close, for the darkness has a way of creeping in when you least expect it, and sometimes the real monsters are hiding in plain sight. Buckle up, because these stories are not just urban legends. They are chilling reminders that the night is alive with more than just ghosts and ghouls. Are you ready to confront the horrors that lie beneath the surface? Let's dive into the unknown. The chill of Halloween night settled over the small town of Crescent Hollow. The air was thick with the aroma of damp leaves and a hint of smoke from distant bonfires, as children scurried about in costumes, their laughter mingling with the rustling branches. I had been invited to a party at my friend Mia's house, a sprawling old Victorian that had seen better days. Rumor had it that the house was haunted, a long-standing topic of idle gossip among us teenagers. Curious, I brushed aside my doubts and stepped into the unfamiliar darkness. Mia greeted me at the door, her face illuminated by the flickering candlelight from within. "You made it," she said, pulling me into a tight hug. The warmth of her embrace momentarily chased away my unease. As we moved further into the house, the sounds of music and chatter enveloped me. I joined my friends, laughing and mingling, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something about the house was off. The party thrived on an atmosphere of eerie fun, with decorations that balanced the line between festive and frightful. Cobwebs clung to corners, and ghostly figures dangled from the ceiling, swaying gently like the spirits they represented. I wandered through the crowd, trying to ignore the persistent feeling of being watched. It was just my imagination, I told myself, until the lights flickered and a sudden hush fell over the room. "Time for a game," Mia announced, her eyes gleaming with excitement. She led us to the living room, where an antique Ouija board rested on the coffee table. "Let's see if we can contact any spirits." The group erupted into a mix of nervous chuckles and whispered objections. I hesitated. I had heard of the dangers associated with playing with the supernatural. But peer pressure won, and I reluctantly sat down with the others. As we gathered around the board, Mia placed her hands on the planchette, prompting the rest of us to join her. "Is there anyone here with us?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of thrill and fear. The planchette remained still, casting a shadow over our faces. After several attempts, the board began to respond, spelling out the name Evelyn. A chill raced down my spine. I remembered hearing stories of a girl who had lived in this house long ago, who had vanished without a trace. "Evelyn, are you here?" I felt compelled to speak. To my astonishment, the planchette moved again, quickly spelling out, "Help." The air grew heavy, and uneasy murmurs floated around the room. I exchanged glances with my friends, each of us grappling with our own doubts and fears. "This isn't funny, Mia," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. But Mia's eyes were wide, entranced. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, plunging us into darkness for a brief moment. When they returned, a figure stood at the edge of the room, silhouetted against the dim light. A scream lodged itself in my throat, but the figure merely watched, unmoving. My heart raced, and I felt the urge to flee. "Mia, I think we should stop," I said, my voice shaking. But Mia was fixated on the board, her fingers trembling over the planchette. "What do you want, Evelyn?" she asked, her voice trembling. The planchette began to move again, spelling out, "Leave." Panic surged through me. I grabbed Mia's arm, urging her to stop, but it was as if she was in a trance. The figure stepped forward, its features becoming clearer, a girl in a tattered dress, her face pale and hollow. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, her voice a haunting echo. The room erupted into chaos as my friends screamed and scrambled for the door, but I couldn't move. I was rooted to the spot, captivated by the apparition before me. "Evelyn," I dared to ask. With a mournful gaze, she pointed toward the staircase, her lips moving but no words coming forth. A sudden gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles and plunging us into darkness once more. Frantic whispers filled the air as we stumbled over one another, desperate to escape. My heart raced as the temperature dropped. a frost settling upon my skin. In the pitch black, I felt an icy grip on my wrist. I yanked away, stumbling toward the door, but it wouldn't budge. "It's locked!" someone shouted. The panicked voices grew louder, merging into a cacophony of terror. The only light came from the moon outside, casting eerie shadows across the walls. "Let me try," I shouted, pushing my shoulder against the door, willing it to open. The others joined me, but it held firm, trapping us in the suffocating darkness. From behind us I could hear faint whispers, echoing through the void. "Leave, now," the voice repeated, chilling me to the bone. Just when I thought we were doomed, the door finally gave way, swinging open into the cold night. We tumbled outside, gasping for breath, adrenaline surging through our veins. I turned back, expecting to see the house looming behind us, but it was gone, replaced by an empty lot, overgrown with weeds. "What the hell just happened?" Mia panted, her face pale. The group looked around in confusion, the reality of what we had just experienced settling like a heavy fog in our minds. "I think we should never speak of this again," I said, my heart still racing. The legend of Evelyn haunted me, a part of the town's history that I had unknowingly become entwined with. As we walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still there, watching us from the shadows, waiting for the next unsuspecting group of friends to wander into her haunted home. The night air was filled with the sound of distant laughter, but I didn't feel like celebrating. Halloween had turned from a night of fun into a chilling reminder of the past, a past that still lingered in Crescent Hollow, and I was now a part of it. The chilling wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it an eerie sense of foreboding. Halloween had always been a time of frivolity for me, costumes, candy, and laughter. But that year, something felt different. I was 22, far from childhood, yet something about the atmosphere felt suffocating. I remember the night vividly, every detail etched in my memory like a ghostly imprint. It was the night of the party, hosted at the old Whitmore estate, a sprawling mansion on the outskirts of town that had been long abandoned. The stories surrounding it were as thick as the ivy that clung to the crumbling walls. Some said it was haunted by the spirit of Eleanor Whitmore, the last of her family, who had gone mad before her mysterious disappearance. Others claimed to have seen shadowy figures flitting through the windows, but I didn't believe in such things. I was there for the thrill of it, not the terror. The group I went with was a mix of friends from college and some local kids who had heard about the party through social media. There were 5 of us: Carter, Lucy, Jenna, and Mike, each of us dressed in our best Halloween garb. I had chosen a classic ghost costume, a sheet draped over me, my face obscured. As we approached the mansion, a shiver ran down my spine, not from the cold, but from the palpable tension that hung in the air. The mansion loomed above us, its once grand facade now marred by years of neglect. We stepped inside, the door creaking ominously as if warning us to turn back. The interior was dimly lit, flickering candles casting long shadows that danced across the walls. The atmosphere was a heady mix of stale air and something else, something sour, like decay. We made our way into the main room, where an eclectic group of partygoers mingled, their laughter echoing through the halls. As the night wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. I brushed it off as the remnants of childhood fears, yet the sensation intensified. In an attempt to distract myself, I wandered away from the crowd, drawn by an inexplicable urge to explore the upper floors of the mansion. The staircase creaked underfoot as I ascended, the wood groaning as if protesting my intrusion. The second floor was eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the raucous party below. I wandered down a narrow hallway, the walls lined with faded portraits of the Whitmore family. Their eyes seemed to follow me, deep-set and hollow. I felt a chill seep into my bones as I reached the end of the corridor, where a door stood ajar, its hinges rusted and reluctant. I pushed it open, the door scraping against the floor, revealing a room shrouded in darkness. There was an oppressive weight in the air, a palpable sense of dread. I stepped inside, the door creaking shut behind me, plunging me into near-complete darkness. I fumbled for my phone to use as a flashlight, the dim light illuminating the room just enough to reveal a dusty old armchair and a small writing desk cluttered with yellowed papers. Curiosity gnawed at me. Who had used this room last? My heart raced as I approached the desk, brushing away a thick layer of dust. On the papers were frantic scrawls, notes in a hand that trembled. "They are coming for me," one read. The shadows whisper, and they want my soul. My skin prickled with an unsettling energy as I realized I was not alone. I could hear it clearly now. The faint sound of whispering, low and reverberating, coiling around me like a snake. I spun around, but the room was empty, the shadows mocking me with their silence. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from downstairs, jolting me from my thoughts. The laughter had been replaced by screams. Panic washed over me, and I rushed back into the hallway, my heart pounding in my chest. As I descended the stairs, I could hear the chaos unfolding. The partygoers were fleeing, their faces pale and filled with terror. I pushed through them, desperate to find my friends. "I saw something," Lucy screamed as I reached her. Her eyes were wide with fear. "In the basement. We need to leave." "Where's Carter?" I shouted over the din, my voice barely audible above the chaos. She shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Mike and Jenna went to find him. They didn't come back." Without a second thought, I grabbed her hand, leading her toward the exit. But the front door wouldn't budge. It felt as though an invisible force held it shut, trapping us inside. The sound of footsteps echoed from above, heavy and deliberate. I turned, my heart racing as I glanced up the staircase. A figure stood at the top, silhouetted against the pale moonlight streaming through the window. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice trembling. The figure remained still, shrouded in shadows. Just as I thought to flee, it moved, gliding down the stairs with an unnatural grace. "Run!" I screamed, and we bolted toward the kitchen, searching for another way out. The whispers grew louder, filling the air with a cacophony of voices. They were angry, filled with rage and pain. I could feel their presence closing in, oppressive and suffocating. We burst into the kitchen, but all the windows were boarded up, trapping us within this nightmare. The lights flickered and went out, plunging us into darkness. I could hear Lucy's breathing, quick and frantic beside me. "Over here!" I shouted, feeling along the walls for anything that could help. That's when I found it, a door leading to the cellar. Without hesitation, we stumbled through, descending into the darkness below. The air was cooler down there, thick with the scent of damp earth. I fumbled to turn on my phone's flashlight, illuminating the cramped space littered with old crates and cobwebs. We moved deeper into the cellar, hoping to find a way out. "Where are they?" Lucy whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence. Just then, I heard it again, the soft rustle of movement, as if something was watching us. I swung my light around, revealing a figure lurking in the shadows, its features obscured, but its eyes glinting malevolently. "Run!" I yelled again, as a deep growl emanated from the darkness. We sprinted toward the far end of the cellar, where a small window beckoned us, barely large enough for an escape. I pushed Lucy through first, frantic to escape whatever horror was pursuing us. "Go! Get out!" I urged, feeling the cold breath of the entity at my back. She scrambled outside, and I turned just in time to see it emerge from the shadows, a grotesque manifestation of despair, with features that seemed to shift and warp, a thing that should not exist. I squeezed through the window just as it lunged, its fingers grasping at my ankle. Pain shot through me, but I broke free, tumbling onto the ground outside. I landed hard, gasping for breath as I scrambled to my feet. Lucy stood a few feet away, her face pale and drawn. We sprinted away from the mansion, the horrid whispers fading behind us. As we reached the safety of the trees, I looked back just once, catching a glimpse of the mansion illuminated by the moonlight. It stood there, silent and menacing, a sentinel of lost souls. That night, Halloween became a dark memory etched deep in my mind, a reminder that some horrors linger, waiting for unsuspecting souls to wander too close. I never spoke of it again, but the shadows still whisper in my dreams, and I know somehow that the mansion still watches, still waits. The wind howled outside as I sat on the worn couch, clutching a half-empty bottle of beer. Halloween was always a time for gathering, but this year felt different. My closest friends, Sam, Lily, and Jacob, had convinced me to host a party in my small apartment, decorated with cobwebs and flickering candlelight. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Everyone was ready for a night of scares and laughs. But my heart wasn't in it. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking just beyond the shadows. As the doorbell rang, I jumped, the sound piercing through my thoughts. I opened the door to reveal Sam, dressed as a vampire, his face painted a ghastly white. Behind him, Lily was sporting a witch's hat, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Jacob, the last to arrive, was wearing a tattered zombie costume, complete with fake blood dripping from his chin. They came in full of energy, and soon the apartment was filled with laughter, the sounds of clinking glasses and the rustling of candy wrappers. As the night wore on, we played games, drank too much, and shared ghost stories. It was fun, but I felt a nagging unease. Every time I glanced at the dark corners of the room, I felt as if someone, or something, was watching us. I brushed it off as paranoia, the result of too many horror films and scary tales, but the sensation persisted. Then came the moment that changed everything. After a few rounds of truth or dare, Jacob dared Sam to go into the hallway and knock on the door of the empty apartment across from mine. The door had been sealed shut for months after the old tenant mysteriously disappeared. It had become somewhat of a local legend. Whispers about ghostly sightings and strange noises in the dead of night filled the air, but we had all dismissed them as silly stories. Until now. "Come on, it'll be fun," Jacob urged Sam, who hesitantly agreed. We all crowded around the door, their laughter echoing in the cramped space as I stood back, feeling a growing sense of dread. Sam walked towards the door, the shadows of flickering candles casting eerie patterns around him. He rapped his knuckles against the wood, and for a moment, silence reigned. My heart raced, and I could feel the tension in the room heighten as we waited. And then, from inside the apartment, we heard it, a soft, dragging sound, like nails scraping against the floor. The laughter stopped, replaced by a thick, heavy silence. "What was that?" Lily whispered, her face paling as she clutched Sam's arm. "I don't know," Sam murmured. But before anyone could suggest retreating, the door swung open, revealing a dark void. Our collective breath caught in our throats. "Let's go in!" Jacob exclaimed, his bravado masking his own fear. The group exchanged nervous glances, but curiosity won out. One by one, we stepped into the darkness of the empty apartment. The air within was stale and cold, a stark contrast to the warmth of my own place. A musty smell clung to the walls, and as we moved deeper into the room, the flickering lights began to dim. I pulled out my phone to illuminate the space, the beam revealing peeling wallpaper and furniture draped in white sheets that resembled ghostly figures. "This place is creepy," I said, forcing a laugh to ease my anxiety. And that's when I saw it, a shadow darting across the room, too quick to discern. "Did you see that?" I asked, my voice trembling. "See what?" Sam replied, his eyes wide. "I swear something just moved," I insisted, my heart racing. I could feel an energy in the room, a weight that pressed down on my chest. Jacob, ever the skeptic, scoffed. "It's just the wind. Come on, let's get out of here." But the shadows seemed to swirl around us, whispering secrets in a language I could not understand. I felt an icy chill creep up my spine, and the air became thick and suffocating. Suddenly a loud crash echoed through the apartment, causing us all to jump. A chair had toppled over, sending a shiver of fear through our group. "Okay, that's enough," Lily shouted, her voice trembling. "Let's go back." We turned to leave, but the door slammed shut with a deafening bang, trapping us inside. Panic surged through me as I pushed against the door, but it wouldn't budge. "What the hell?" I shouted, my voice rising in pitch. "Is this a joke?" Sam yelled, pounding on the door. "Let us out." It was then that we heard it again, soft laughter echoing from the corners of the room. It sounded almost childlike, innocent in its malice. "It's just a prank," Jacob insisted, but even his bravado faltered as the laughter grew louder, more sinister. "Someone's in here with us," I whispered, my heart pounding as I backed away from the door. The shadows crept closer, coiling around us, and with each passing moment, I could feel the temperature drop. Then the lights flickered violently and went out, plunging us into darkness. I felt a rush of cold air, and the laughter morphed into a cacophony of voices, all whispering at once, drowning out my thoughts. I could sense presences swirling around us, cold and vengeful. "Get away from me!" Lily screamed, and in that moment, the lights flickered back on, illuminating the room. But something was wrong. Something was terribly wrong. In the far corner, we saw the outline of a figure, a girl, her hair matted and her eyes dark. She stood there, staring at us with a knowing smile, her hands clutching something that glimmered in the dim light. "Let's play," she whispered, her voice hauntingly sweet. I felt my knees buckle beneath me as the reality of our situation sank in. We weren't just trespassing. We had awakened something that had lain dormant for years. The laughter returned, transforming into a chilling chorus as the girl took a step forward, and I realized with horror that we were the prey in a game we couldn't escape. I lunged for the door again, but it still wouldn't open. "We need to find another way out," I shouted, panic coursing through me. As we scrambled to search the apartment for an exit, I caught a glimpse of our reflections in a cracked mirror, a twisted version of ourselves, ghostly pale and wide-eyed with fear. I could feel sanity slipping away, the whispers growing louder, drowning out rational thought. Suddenly, Jacob was gone. 1 minute he was right beside me. The next, he'd vanished into thin air. "Jacob!" I cried, my voice breaking. "Help!" His voice echoed from somewhere deep within the apartment, filled with terror. I felt a surge of desperation and fear as the laughter intensified, enveloping us. We were trapped in a nightmare, and the girl's smile seemed to widen as she watched our panic. "Let's play," she repeated, and I knew then that whatever had been unleashed that night would not rest until it had claimed us all. In that moment, the realization hit me hard. This was no Halloween game. As we stumbled through the dark, I could feel the shadows closing in, the weight of our dread pulling us deeper into the void. We were lost, swallowed by the darkness that thrived on our fear, trapped in a game from which there was no escape. And as the laughter of the girl echoed in my ears, I knew we were never leaving this place. Not alive. The chill of autumn had always settled into my bones as Halloween approached. Growing up, my neighborhood transformed into a carnival of costumes, laughter, and the haunting allure of the unknown. The fallen leaves crunched beneath our feet, a symphony of whispers signaling change as the sun dipped below the horizon. This particular Halloween, however, would be etched into my mind forever. A night when reality blurred and the shadows stretched their fingers a little too far. It started with a party, an invitation slipped into my locker by my friend Jenna. She and I had been inseparable since middle school, our bond forged through shared secrets and late-night ghost stories. This party promised to be the highlight of our senior year, hosted at the old Whitmore house on the outskirts of town. Everyone knew the stories. The abandoned mansion was rumored to be haunted, a relic of a time long forgotten, where the former owner had vanished under mysterious circumstances. But for us, the thrill of the unknown drew us in like moths to a flame. As I arrived, the air was thick with the scent of pumpkins and damp leaves. Laughter echoed from the house, mingling with the rustling trees. I spotted Jenna, her costume bright and inviting. She dressed as a witch, complete with a pointed hat and a cascade of curls that bounced as she gestured animatedly. I felt out of place in my half-hearted ghost costume, an old sheet with cut-out eyes. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement as we stepped through the creaking door into the dimly lit foyer. The interior of the Whitmore house was an eerie juxtaposition of festive decor and unsettling shadows. Cobwebs hung from the chandeliers, and the flickering candles cast dancing silhouettes along the cracked walls. Laughter erupted from the living room, a cacophony of excitement mixed with the occasional scream. Part of the haunted house experience Jenna had organized, complete with jump scares and spooky stories. But as the night wore on, the laughter began to feel strained, as if the house itself was absorbing our joy, leaving behind a sense of unease. We gathered around the fireplace, the heat battling the chill that gnawed at our skin. I noticed a strange painting hanging above the mantel, a portrait of a woman with hollow eyes and a sorrowful expression. It was hauntingly beautiful, yet the despair etched into her features made my skin crawl. "Who is she?" I asked Jenna. "That's Eleanor Whitmore," Jenna replied, her voice dropping to a whisper as if sharing a dark secret. "She was the last owner of this house before she disappeared. They say her spirit still roams these halls." The hairs on the back of my neck prickled. I glanced around at my friends, their faces illuminated by the flickering firelight, but my gaze kept returning to the portrait. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was watching us. As the party continued, I drifted from the crowd, drawn by an inexplicable urge to explore the house. The dimly lit hallway beckoned me, and curiosity drowned out my caution. I wandered deeper into the house, each step accompanied by the soft creak of the floorboards beneath me. The air grew heavier, thick with a sense of foreboding. I pushed open a door at the end of the hallway, revealing a dust-laden room filled with forgotten relics, a time capsule of the past. Old furniture stood shrouded in white sheets, their shapes grotesque in the shadows. A sudden chill enveloped me and I took a step back, instinctively reaching for the doorknob when the door slammed shut behind me. Panic surged through me as I tugged at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. I turned, heart racing, and something in the corner of the room caught my eye. A mirror, framed in tarnished gold. Approaching it, I was struck by my own reflection, but something felt wrong. My image wavered, rippling like water disturbed by a stone. I leaned closer, confusion morphing into terror, as I saw not just my face, but shadows swirling behind me, shapes that flickered in and out of existence. Desperate now, I pounded on the door, shouting for help, but my voice echoed back at me, distorted and hollow. I was utterly alone. The shadows in the mirror twisted, forming a vague outline of a woman, the same hollow-eyed figure from the painting. Panic turned to dread as her lips moved, forming silent words, yet I could feel the weight of her sorrow pressing down on me, filling the room with an overwhelming sadness. Suddenly, the door swung open, and Jenna stood there, her expression a mix of concern and confusion. "I thought I heard you scream," she exclaimed, rushing in to pull me back into the hallway. But as I stumbled forward, I felt a cold hand grip my shoulder, dragging me backward. I screamed, but Jenna couldn't hear me. She was already pulling me into the chaos of the party, oblivious to the darkness that lingered just behind me. The atmosphere was different now. It crackled with tension, and the laughter had turned to nervous giggles, punctuated by gasps and whispers. I could sense a change in the air, a heavy weight that settled over the crowd. The lights flickered, casting erratic shadows on the walls. "Did you see her?" I whispered to Jenna, but her face was pale, and she shook her head, fear shining in her eyes. As the clock struck midnight, the atmosphere shifted, the energy in the room curdling into something sinister. The laughter faded, leaving only the sound of our uneven breaths. There was a collective shudder as we all felt it, the oppressive weight of a presence that enveloped us, thick and suffocating. The lights dimmed completely, plunging us into darkness. Panic erupted as we fumbled for our phones, the glow illuminating terrified faces. Then we heard it, a whisper, soft yet clear, echoing through the room. "Are you here for me?" The voice was haunting, wrapping around us like a shroud. I felt drawn to its source, an inexplicable urge to answer, to understand. "Eleanor," I murmured, half in a trance, but the others recoiled as if struck. Suddenly, the candles flared back to life, revealing a figure standing at the edge of the room, her face hidden beneath a dark veil. Jenna grabbed my arm, pulling me back. "We need to go, now!" But as we turned to flee, the doors slammed shut, trapping us inside. The figure stepped forward, the veil lifting to reveal the same hollow eyes from the portrait, a deep sadness washing over her features. "You cannot leave until you understand," she intoned, her voice echoing like a mournful song. In that moment, I felt a flood of sorrow wash over me, memories not my own piercing through my mind. Loss, abandonment, an endless search for something that could never be found. I stumbled back, tears streaming down my face. The party was forgotten. All that mattered was the grief that enveloped me. In that darkness, I understood Eleanor's plight, the weight of her despair echoing in my heart. With a final flicker, the lights extinguished, and we were plunged back into silence, the figure fading into the shadows. The door creaked open, and we stumbled outside, gasping for air. The night felt different, as if the world had shifted beneath our feet. As we made our way home, the laughter of the party lingered in my ears, a haunting reminder of the joy that had been snatched away. Halloween would never feel the same again, for I now carried a piece of Eleanor with me, a specter of sorrow woven into the fabric of my reality, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lay beyond the veil of our world. Did that chill you to the bone? I'd love to hear your thoughts or any creepy stories you have in the comments below. If you enjoyed the ride, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. Join us again, if you dare.